lovelies, it's Margaret, and it's time to nerd out about My Lady Jane. This is the first book in the Lady Janey series. It sort of covers the history of Jane Grey, who you might know as the 9-Day Queen. Jane Grey, if you are not familiar with Tudor history, was the poor, unfortunate cousin that got thrown into the mix when Edward VI died. She was queen for, as the moniker suggests, 9 days before Mary I came and took over London and promptly executed her. Here's the thing about this story. History gets thrown out the window, which is one of the best parts about the entire book, honestly. It's not like I'm an expert on Tudor history, but I do happen to know a lot about Tudor history. This book was just irreverent enough that they were able to pull off the small inconsistencies, a lot of which I think were made simply for the effect of the joke or for style. This book starts right at the end of Edward VI's reign. He is sick, he is dying, he has to figure out who is going to inherit his crown. The twist of this book is there's magic, and instead of having the Catholics versus the Protestants, you have the Verities versus the Ethians. Verities are normal humans. Ethians are humans who are not always human. One of the main characters, G, actually turns into a horse. That kind of makes him the perfect guy, because he turns into a horse. There are a lot of girls who would be very excited about that. Whether or not Jane is excited about that, I will leave for you to figure out when you read the book. 16-year-old Jane is not quite sure how she feels about this sudden marriage to a complete and total stranger thing, and she's even less sure how she feels about this suddenly being the Queen of England thing. Especially considering that there are a few things that don't seem quite right. Now, I won't talk about too much of the plot right now. I'm just gonna give you a few of my thoughts about how they wrote it. And then I will say goodbye to those of you who have not read the book, and we will talk about spoilers. Like I said, I know quite a bit about Tudor history. So one year, the theme at my co-op was medieval history. A little bit of backstory for those of you that don't know what a co-op is. I was homeschooled. Since most homeschool parents are concerned about their children growing up to be antisocial losers, once a week usually you'll have a group of families that come together to do lessons and stuff together. The size simply depends on how many families. Anyways, we did medieval history as the theme one year, and that got me into the Tudors, and so I have been obsessed ever since, which means I've read a whole bunch about the Tudors. I've only watched part of the first season of the show, but the historical Tudors. I've been fascinated by Edward and Mary and Elizabeth and Mary Queen of Scots, so I know quite a bit about these. The setting was fantastic. I was right at home in this setting. I enjoyed it. I have always enjoyed, again, because I'm obsessed with the Tudors, I love the political intrigue that is a part of reading stuff like this, and so I just loved it. And it was just, like I said, it was historically irreverent in a very Shakespearean kind of way. Really reminded me of Shakespeare's kind of tongue-in-cheek. I want the narrator of this book to follow me around and narrate my life. And I wouldn't even mind when they call me out for doing something losery, because they just were so hilarious and funny. The characters were great. They all had their own little quirks. It just was so hilarious to watch these characters who are all in this place where they're very comfortable, and all of a sudden the entire world just gets right out from under them, and they have to figure out how to work through it. If you like things that are historical, I would recommend it. If you like things that are hysterical, I would recommend it. And if you like alternate history, I would definitely recommend it. I'm not gonna tell you how much alternate it is. Let's just say I liked the ending, and I'll leave it at that. Alright, so if you have not read the book yet, you should go goodbye and come back when you have. If you have read the book, I'm gonna go into the spoilery section and talk about some of my favorite things about this book. Top favorite, and I mentioned it at the beginning of the video, is the fact that Gifford can turn into a horse, because I love horses, and I like guys. And so when you have a guy that can turn into a horse, like I said, perfect dude. The perfect dude. This was very much, I felt like a comedy of errors. There was so much miscommunication. And I loved the blatant Shakespeare theft. I loved it, which is hilarious considering I'm not a big fan of all those William Shakespeare didn't actually write Shakespeare conspiracy theories. I'm just whatever, I don't care. They're just theories, so William Shakespeare wrote Shakespeare. Unless you're talking about this book, in which case Gifford Dudley wrote Shakespeare and fed it to him. I wholeheartedly believe this. Wholeheartedly. am down with that theory. Talk about, like, let's talk about making things complicated for characters. If it was not complicated enough that he turns into a horse, has no control over turning into it, whether when he turns into a horse, it's sundown to sun up. No, sun up to sundown, he is a horse. Like, when she ends up turning into the ferret, and so she's a ferret from sundown to sun up, they have like 5 minutes to talk, and they still manage to fall in love with just 5 minutes. That was fantastic. It was, again, comedy of errors. Like, you start out with this really awkward and bad situation, and it just gets worse with people trying to fix it. I knew Bess was an Ethian, by the way. Knew it. I knew what she was. I knew she was an Ethian. I knew she was a cat. I thought it was hilarious that Mary, Queen of Scots, was a mouse. I was so happy about Edward. Can we discuss the fact that I was so happy about Edward? I'm one of those, like, I read the histories, and, like, Mary deserved what happened to her. Mary Tudor deserved what happened to her because she was just an all-around horrible person. Like, I kind of understand why she got that way, but there are a lot of people that go through things that are just as bad and don't turn into complete and total horrible people. Like she did and like her father did. But I really liked the fact that this was an alternate history, and so a lot of the people that in real history ended up dead did not end up dead. That's always fun when you find out that people that you felt sorry for, like I really felt sorry for Edward VI because he didn't get a chance to live. Like, his story is sad and miserable. And this one story was not sad and miserable, so I was quite happy with that. I loved Gracie. Gracie was adorable and hilarious, and I really liked how she ended up, I knew she was going to end up being the leader of the pack. That was a really nice character arc for her. Speaking of character arcs, can we talk about, going back to Edward, talk about his character growth from, no, women shouldn't be on the throne, to, haha, I'm totally going to make my sister queen. I really would like to see what King Henry of France's reaction was to that. Definitely would love to see what King Henry of France's reaction was to that. He probably was not happy. He probably threw a fit. I do feel sorry for Mary Queen of Scots though, because she didn't seem to. That was the one historical inaccuracy that did bug me. Although she was a lot younger in this book, I think, than she was when she married Francis. But like, Mary Stuart very much loved Francis the Dauphin. That was the one thing that really bugged me, because historically, like, she referred to him historically as her one true husband. Like, it's a historical fact that she loved him, and she was devastated when he died. But, you know, it's all in good fun, so I let that slide, especially since this was not a book about Mary. Deckled edges. So I just saw this on the back. It says, "The Tudors meets Monty Python. Prepare to laugh and gasp and clutch your pearls." That was a review by Taha Ramafi. And it is so 100% accurate, guys, right? They should have more reviews that are as helpful as this. Like, The Tudors meets Monty Python tells me exactly what the book is going to be about. Like, that is the most accurate description of this book you could find. If I could rewrite history, this is exactly how I would rewrite it. And you should read it, because it is one of the best books I've read this year. Granted, we are still only in January as of the filming of this video, but I'm pretty sure this might make it onto my top 10 of 2018 reading list. Although I'm reading a lot of books this year, so it might not. Okay, so that's it for now. Let me know below if you have read this book. What did you think of it? Did you think it was hysterical too? Or were you just like, don't rewrite my history, man. What the heck? Let me know down below if you've read this book, if you plan to read this book. I would love to know your thoughts. I would love to to talk with you guys about it. I will be down in the comments seeing what you have to say. Anyways, I will see y'all next time when we will talk about more wordy, nerdy things. Bye!